Sarah stood in the attic of her childhood home, the air thick with dust and memories. Her mother's passing had brought her back to this place, a house filled with echoes of the past. As she sorted through boxes of old belongings, her eyes fell on a dusty shoebox tucked away in the corner. The label, written in her mother's handwriting, read, "For Sarah, when the time is right." Curious, she opened the box and found a stack of unopened letters, each one addressed to her in a familiar hand. Daniel. Her high school sweetheart. Her heart raced as she picked up the first letter, dated the summer after graduation, the summer they were supposed to move to the city together. With trembling hands, she opened it and began to read. "Dear Sarah, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I need to tell you why I stayed. My dad's sick, and I can't leave him. I hope you'll understand. I wanted to follow you to the city, but I couldn't. I'm so sorry. Always, Daniel." The words hit her like a wave. She had always assumed Daniel had moved on, just as she had tried to do. But here, in her hands, was proof that he hadn't. She reached for the next letter, and the next, each one chronicling his life over the years, his father's death, his struggles with depression, his journey to becoming an artist. The most recent letter, dated just a few weeks ago, ended with, "I still think of you every day. I wonder if you ever think of me." Overwhelmed, Sarah knew she had to find him. The cabin was secluded, nestled deep in the mountains. When Sarah arrived, Daniel was on the porch, his back to her as he worked on a painting. He turned at the sound of her footsteps, and for a moment, they simply stared at each other. The vibrant, confident boy she had known was gone, replaced by a quiet, reserved man whose eyes carried the weight of years of loneliness. "Sarah," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Is that really you?" "Hi, Daniel," she replied, holding up the shoebox. "I found your letters. All of them." Daniel looked away, his shoulders tense. "I never thought you'd see those. I didn't send them for a reason." "Why not?" she asked, stepping closer. "Why didn't you tell me any of this?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Because I didn't think I deserved you. After my dad died, I wasn't the same person anymore. I didn't want to drag you down with me." Sarah's voice softened. "You don't get to decide what I deserve, Daniel. I needed to know. I needed to hear from you." Daniel's voice broke as he spoke. "I thought about you every day. I just didn't know how to reach out. I was scared you'd moved on." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. "I tried to move on, but I never really did. I always wondered what happened to us." Over the next few days, they reconnected, slowly rebuilding the bond they had once shared. Daniel showed Sarah his art studio, and she was stunned to find the walls covered with paintings of her, her smile, her laugh, the way she used to look at him. "You were my muse," he admitted, his voice quiet. "Even when you weren't here, you were all I could think about." Sarah reached out to touch one of the paintings. "They're beautiful. But why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you send the letters?" Daniel hesitated. "I thought if I kept them to myself, I could hold on to you without risking losing you all over again." Sarah turned to him, her eyes filled with emotion. "You never lost me, Daniel." "Not really." But just as they began to heal, Sarah's phone rang. It was her editor, reminding her of her approaching book deadline. She had to return to the city. Before she left, Daniel handed her a new letter. "For you," he said. "Don't open it until you're ready." On the drive back, Sarah found another letter tucked into her bag, one she hadn't noticed before. It was from her mother, written just before she passed away. With a sinking feeling, Sarah opened it. "Dear Sarah, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and you found Daniel's letters. I was the one who kept them from you. I thought I was protecting you, but now I see I was wrong. Love is rare, and you deserve to fight for it. I hope you can forgive me. Love, Mom." Sarah's hands shook as she read the words. She felt betrayed, yet she understood her mother's intentions. Sitting at her desk in the city, she wrote one final letter to Daniel, explaining everything. She ended it with, "I'm coming back. This time, I'm not letting fear keep us apart. When Sarah arrived at the cabin, Daniel was waiting for her on the porch, a new painting in progress. He smiled for the first time in years as she approached, and she handed him the letter. As he read it, tears filled his eyes. They embraced, finally free of the past and ready to start anew. The story ended with Sarah and Daniel sitting together on the porch, watching the sunset. Sarah opened the shoebox of letters and began reading them aloud, one by one, as Daniel listened. The camera panned to his latest painting, a portrait of Sarah, smiling, with the words "the letters we never sent" written in the corner.